Hi everybody, it's Jen. Welcome back to my channel, Hallmark Plus More, where we watch and talk about shows, movies, mysteries, Hallmark ornaments, and anything else that floats our boat. So today I'm going to be reviewing a Hallmark Christmas movie called Joyful Mrs. Miracle. It stars Rachel Boston as Mrs. Miracle. And I really enjoyed watching this movie. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it. It starts out with the flashback from 2016 about a young girl, running out and meeting this boy in the stable. So right away you kind of go, okay, well, I guess the relationship wasn't really approved because they're kind of meeting in the dark at night and they're exchanging Christmas presents. So what you find out is the little girl's name is Charlotte, or should I say teenager's name is Charlotte, and she was running out to meet Austin, and him and his dad are the hired help, right? His dad takes care of the stables and takes care of the house, and he's raising a son, Austin, and he's in love with training horses as well. And then she is the granddaughter of the owner of the estate. So it just starts out just a couple minutes flashback, and then it goes to present day. So that flashback, when it starts out the movie, it kind of sets you up for, okay, this is another typical Hallmark love story movie. But it turns out the grandmother, they go to present day, the grandmother passes away, and she leaves her estate to her 3 grandchildren, one of them being Charlotte, the little girl, the teenage flashback you saw at the beginning of the movie. Her parents died in a car crash when she was young, so her and her 2 brothers lived with their grandmother, and she basically raised them. So when the grandmother passed, that was just like losing yet another member of their family. And in the will, she left the estate to the 3 kids. She has a foundation, which she was the chairman of the board, so her seat is available as, the chairman of the board. And apparently each child wants that seat. They all live in different areas of the country, live very different lives. And they all are coming back to kind of get through the estate, what they're going to do with the house and the furniture and all the, the expensive paintings and everything like that. But they have to agree. That's part of the grandmother's will, that all 3 have to agree which child is going to take the seat, or which, grandchild is going to be the new chairman of the board. But they have until Christmas Eve. So they basically have until midnight on Christmas Eve to make this decision. And it has to be agreed upon. All 3 have to agree. So it kind of lets you believe, from what you can see, that the brothers and sisters, they bicker, right? Anybody who has siblings, or even if you're an only child, but you have, more than one child, you see your children bicker between their siblings, your children. So I feel like everybody can kind of relate to that. Even if you're an only child, you kind of know siblings bicker. So you see them all come in their separate lives. You see them all come back to the estate to come for Christmas. It's Christmas time. And you kind of see that conflict because, like I said, the 3 of them have to agree on, divvying up the estate, but also the pivotal, the very important, who's going to be the new chairman of the board, because the will was specific on they all have to agree on the person they want to take it. So you see all of their lives, like I said, are very different. Charlotte has a little boy, precious little boy. She's no longer with, her husband, the boy's father. So she's a single mom, and she brings a little boy to the estate, and then the other 2 brothers are not married. And one of the brothers, however, is serious with his girlfriend, wants to propose. And then the other brother doesn't have a girlfriend and kind of owes people a lot of money. So when they describe it, Charlotte with the single mom, she's the lawyer who doesn't really practice right now because she's focusing on her son, but she is still licensed to practice law. And then the other brother who has the serious girlfriend is Benedict, and he is in finance. And then the third grandchild, or their brother, is Henry, and they describe him as somewhat shady. He owes money to some bad people. So that's kind of his, I don't want to say motive, but that's kind of why he wants to be chairman of the board. He's promising these people he's going to pay them back, these loan sharks, these bad people he owes money to. So each sibling kind of has a motive or a reason why they should be the chairman of the board. So you kind of see each individual sibling why they want to be it, as vindication for this and for that. So, you're kind of watching the movie going, okay, well, I think Charlotte deserves it. And then you go, I think Benedict deserves it. And then you feel bad for Henry because he owes these people money and he's a good guy. So you kind of go back and forth. And that's kind of the mystery of the movie, like what's going to happen in the end. So I definitely like that. That you see that conflict between them. And then, of course, you see Rachel Boston as Mrs. Miracle. She comes into play as the, basically the estate auction person. And she says that Vivian, the grandmother, hired her before she passed. So none of the siblings know who this lady is. She comes in very upbeat, very joyful, very whimsical even, her character. I mean, Rachel did an exceptional job being Mrs. Miracle. She just comes in just so happy, so full of life. And she resonates right away with Charlotte's son, Cody. So Charlotte's son is named Cody, and right away she kind of, and Charlotte even mentions it. She kind of bonds with her. She's like, hey, he doesn't really open up to people. He kind of has anxiety, so he's a little bit on the edge. She has her headphones, sounds, noises. He can get upset easily and have that anxiety. So you kind of got to be careful when you're around Cody. And she Miss Miracle, she picks up great with Cody and they become instant friends. So I love that. Miss Miracle just has a way of connecting to everybody. One of my favorite things about the film is she carries down this purse. And the purse isn't big, it's just a regular little handbag. And she starts pulling stuff out of the handbag as they ask, like, hey, we don't know who you are. We've never heard of you. She pulls out file folders. And these are like legal size file folders, which are like this big. If you know what a legal size paper is, it's pretty large. And she's just pulling them straight out of her purse. And you're like, there's no way. Her purse isn't long enough for that. And you'll see throughout the movie, she does this. She just pulls things out of it throughout the day, throughout the movie. Like when she's with Cody, she's like, oh, okay, here's some carrots for the horses because they have a stable on the property. And it's like, how does she do that? And then later on, they're going to make a snowman and she's pulling out a hat and a scarf and, carrots to build the snowman. And you're just like, so that to me, I loved because it was almost like a Mary Poppins reference, right? Where she's just pulling stuff out of her hat. And she's just so happy and joyous. And she just resonates, the Christmas spirit. She's just so nice and so happy. And that resonates with me with Mary Poppins because Mary Poppins had that cheerful disposition, which is just like Mrs. Miracle in this movie. So I love that. I love old films. Mary Poppins is a classic. I love it. So that definitely I enjoy throughout the whole movie. I was like, oh, she's going to pull something out of her purse again. And she's just such a happy person. Throughout the way of the movie, they kind of think that the grandmother has some paperwork hidden around the house. She didn't believe in safes, which makes sense because she says robbers always go to the safe because they think there's something important in there. So she never puts anything important in the safe. So, I mean, her logic makes sense. So that has the kids kind of going around the house trying to find if there's any other written documentation about the grandmother on who she should leave in charge of that board seat to the chairman of the board. And they find a key, or should I say Mrs. Miracle, of course, finds a key taped in a vase. So then they're like, okay, well, where does this go to? So now they're searching the house for a box that the key goes to maybe find that documentation on what she wanted to do with the board seat. They find the box. Cody finds the box, actually, which I thought was kind of cute that he found the box in an old toy box. So there's several things in there. There is some papers, not the papers they were looking for. An old picture of their grandmother, emergency cash, so found a stash of cash. And then Benedict finds some old baseball cards. And then they find rings. Not their grandmother's rings, but their parents when they were in the car crash. Their wedding and engagement ring, their mom's engagement ring, which was very sweet and sentimental. And then they found Gramps' old Bible. And I thought they were nice mementos, right? This is kind of a treasure box, and it was her treasures, her child who died in a car crash, and which is now she's raising her grandkids, their engagement and wedding ring, and then her husband's old Bible, which is very sweet as well, just to kind of have all those mementos. So it was really nice to see the family open up this box of treasures, so to speak, not necessarily valuable treasures besides the cash, of course, but then it meant something to their grandparents and they were able to kind of reminisce. So I thought that was really sweet. You see when Mrs. Miracle makes her first appearance, she drives up in this old style blue car, and it's the same car her parents had before the crash. So all three siblings are kind of reminiscing about the car Mrs. Miracle drives because it reminds them of their parents. So that's sweet too. And then they actually decide to visit Vivian's best friend, and her name is Eloise, and they drive in Mrs. Miracle's car. And it's the first time really in the movie you don't see them bickering or even discussing who's going to be chairman of the board, because it seems like they all want to be it, so they're all kind of bickering and arguing. And when they're in this old car of Mrs. Miracle's, which again, like I said, reminds them of their parents' old car, they actually start singing Christmas carols, and you can see them really get along. And it was just sweet to see the siblings kind of get along and act like they were when they were kids, get along and be friends. So they go to see her best friend, and she's not any help as to who's going to get chairman of the board. She basically said the grandmother had points and reasons for each grandchild to take over the seat. So doesn't really give them an answer, but it's so nice to reminisce with their grandmother's best friend. Meanwhile, they discuss to have this Christmas Eve party that their grandmother always puts on. So obviously they're inviting Eloise to go to the party, and other family and friends of their grandmother. So that's kind of a tribute to their grandmother. So it's really sweet that they're having this party. And there's one scene where Cody, they can't find Cody. He's missing. He's not in his room, and Charlotte obviously tucked him in for bed. So she's panicking because of his anxiety. He's petrified of the dark. He wouldn't go outside the house. They're searching everywhere. Mrs. Miracle goes, I'm going to go outside and check the stables. And they find that Cody has his headphones on because, like I say, the anxiety, the noise, but he's outside at the stables with the horses. And, they obviously he's safe and sound, so they're happy about that. But they find, horses is great therapy for people that are stressed and have anxiety. So Charlotte's kind of finding, Cody is really feeling at home here. He likes the horses. And so Austin's like, yeah, there are jobs for horse therapy. I mean, that's a thing. It does. Animals do help people with anxiety, help people that are depressed or, are stressed. So that's a nice little side story. Austin has always been into training horses, and he's actually thought about this, and he's seeing it firsthand that it's helping Cody. So that's just a really sweet moment. While they're searching for Cody, Charlotte's brothers, his uncles, Cody's uncles, are obviously just as scared or concerned, and they're all searching. I had mentioned earlier that one of the siblings, Henry, owes money to this gentleman, and he's basically putting it off like, hey, I'm going to get chairman of the board. I'm going to pay you back. Well, he shows up. He surprises the family, and Henry basically goes, you didn't cut off my hands. I got to find my nephew, family first. And so the brother basically says, look, we're going to pay you back. And Henry's like, no, 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 Benedict, you don't have to do that. And it was also another moment of, no, we're family. We're in this together. You know, you owe him money. We're going to pay him back every cent, you know. And that was another sweet moment. So as you can see, as the movie goes along, you really see these siblings come together. And you can tell how they love each other and they're going to be there for each other. They realize they really don't have anybody else but each other. They lost their parents. They lost this wonderful woman, their grandmother. They're going to stick together. And I just love that, you know, that sisterly, you know, brotherly sibling bond. And in the end, you know, they all kind of say, I don't want to be it. I want you to be it, or this is why you should be it. And Benedict, before this, Benedict proposes to his girlfriend with his mother's ring, the engagement ring that they found in the old toy box, that the key, you know, that Miss Markle found. So that's a touching moment too. So Henry, still single, but his debt's going to be paid off. Benedict proposes to his girlfriend, and then Charlotte has Cody. And she's kind of rekindling that lost love that she had with Austin. So I mentioned the flashback in the beginning with Austin. He's still on the property. He's still training the horses, and they kind of find that they still care for each other. So that is a love story throughout the movie for sure. Hallmark always has a love story, right? But I love the Miss Miracle, because what she basically is there doing is she's bringing that bond from the siblings together. And then in the end, they decide all together, they all agree that Charlotte should be the chairman of the board. However, they're like, why does it just have to be one person? Why can't we all be a part of the board? One chairman, obviously, but we don't have to just have one sibling in it. So they meet the rest of the board, they vote, they extended the board to include both of the brothers. So they agreed Charlotte is going to be the chairman of the board, keeping it in the family, but the brothers are now part of the board too. So I really loved how they came up with that conclusion, that little twist there. They're all going to be partners in the board. And then Austin realizes, seeing Cody kind of go through a little bit of one-on-one therapy with the horses, you know, helping him with his anxiety, he realizes that's his calling, with the help of Celeste, of course, or I'm sorry, of Charlotte, of course. So Charlotte kind of helps him realize that. So he looks for a job and finds a job in Maine, working at a school that helps children with horse therapy. And at the end, he basically says, I'm moving to Maine for this. Charlotte calls the school, finds there's an opening for Cody, and basically says to Austin, I want to pursue this. You know, we're going to go to Maine with you if you're okay with that. There's room in the school for Cody. You can do your horse therapy and we can all be together. So I love that, how Charlotte kind of called and has that back connection with Austin, and the three of them are going to be together. Benedict is, you know, marrying his girlfriend. Henry is no longer, you know, indebted to the loan sharks. So everybody kind of has a happy ending. And of course, they're all going to be a part of this board to honor their grandmother. So, and then Christmas morning, you see them in their PJs opening up presents. You see his, you know, Benedict's fiance. You see Cody. You see Austin there reuniting with Charlotte. So it's just a wonderful scene there. And then, of course, you see Mrs. Miracle kind of kind of glowing like the angel she is. And then she leaves, basically, you know, saying, hey, I got this. You know, my job as this angel was to get these siblings to get together and stay connected. And I really loved that. So, you know, that was definitely an interesting movie. I hope you enjoyed the movie. I hope you enjoyed the discussion. What I usually like to do at the end is what I call my gen rating. And I just kind of have some talking points that I do when I come up with my gen rating. What did I love about the film? What did I dislike or not love about the film? And then were the characters, was the storyline believable? And when I say believable, I don't mean realistic. I mean, did I believe the characters? Did I believe that I could jump into that town and I believe those characters? Did I believe Charlotte really was a lawyer with the son falling for Austin all over again. Did I really believe that Mrs. Miracle was the angel sent down from heaven to bring the siblings back together? And then, of course, the feels, my overall feel of the movie. After watching it, how did it make me feel? What did I feel leaving? What do I feel like the next day after watching it? And then I usually get a rating from that, which I call my Gen rating. So there was a lot of things that I loved about the movie. I loved the whole concept because, again, front and center was not a love story. The front and center concept was getting these siblings to agree and honor their grandmother and who's going to take over that legacy of chairman of the board. So it was a different plot. You still had the love story with Charlotte and Austin, from the beginning scene of them as teenagers, and then, having that love being rekindled and finding out that, he didn't really date anybody. He never really got over her. She did, and then obviously she's no longer with them because she had Cody. But I love watching them reconnect. What I didn't like or disliked about the film wasn't really much that I disliked. I definitely liked how they were all together. I would have probably liked a better ending for Henry. And this is just kind of me nitpicking, but he didn't really have a girlfriend. He didn't have any kids. He didn't really, they did mention that he got married and annulled in Vegas. So, I guess he had a little fling there. But, I would have liked to see a little bit more for him because you see Charlotte and Austin as the main love story. They get together, and Cody, as a family. And then you see Benedict, he proposed, he's getting married. But you didn't really see much on Henry. So, again, I'm nitpicking. I would have liked to see a little bit more on his storyline. And then, was it believable? Absolutely. Robin Boston, if you've ever seen her movies on a Hallmark, she's great. I love her as an actress. So I believed her 100%. This was a different role for her because usually when I see Rachel, she's the main love interest, right? She plays the Charlotte character, so to speak. And in this movie, she doesn't play a love interest. She's playing Mrs. Miracle, which in my interpretation, she was the angel sent down from heaven to kind of do that. The scenes where she's pulling things out of her purse, like the Mary Poppins, absolutely adored. That sealed it for me. I loved this movie. I love Mary Poppins. And she was very whimsical, very cheerful, like Mary Poppins was. This is a different role, I think, for Rachel because she, yes, when you're the love interest, you're a nice character, you're lovable. But she took on a different role being Mrs. Miracle because she's this angel coming in. She knows stuff. She said she was making cookies from a recipe from 1860. She let little things slip throughout the movie, letting you know she's older than the average person because she's, an angel come down to, get the estate together. So I believed that she was Mrs. Miracle, and I just loved this role because she was so whimsical and cheerful, just like Mary Poppins is. So well done on all the scenes with her pulling stuff out of her purse, obviously way too big for the size purse that she had. I loved it. I thought Rachel, acted like Mary Poppins to a T. So, Mary Poppins would be proud. I just thought it was so great. I loved that because I love Mary Poppins, and I loved being able to see her, kind of reenact that and kind of go off of the Mary Poppins character, and I thought she did a great job. The overall feels in the movie made me think of Mary Poppins, makes me want to go back and watch, Dick Van Dyke and Mary Poppins and see her go, because I thought she did phenomenal in Mary Poppins. And Rachel, I feel, watched Mary Poppins and kind of watched her in that role and kind of portrayed that. So well done, Rachel. You can tell you're a fan, and a Mary Poppins fan, you did great. So definitely like this movie because of that aspect of the Mary Poppins references. I just feel like for my rating, I would definitely have to give this movie my rating. I would definitely give this movie 5 gold crowns. So well done, Hallmark, your Mary Poppins ratings. And Rachel was so phenomenal in this movie as Mrs. Miracle. overall feels in the movie. She just wants you to do good. After watching that movie, I feel like I need to go out and do something good, because it just it gave you a good feeling. You were like, oh, Mrs. Miracle, she's incredible. I love what she did in this movie. So for me, the love story took a backseat to watching how amazing Rachel was as Mrs. Miracle. So for that, Hallmark, I have to give this movie 5 gold crowns. I thought it was phenomenal. Rachel did a great job portraying Mrs. Miracle. And the references of Mary Poppins, straight on, loved it. So I hope you enjoyed my review. I hope if you have a chance to watch this movie, definitely watch it, because after watching it, you're going to feel good. You're going to want to go out and feed the homeless or do something nice for somebody else. And that's honestly what we always want to feel. We want to feel good. We want to do good, and we want to help others. And I feel like that's what this movie made me feel like. So well done. I hope you enjoyed my review and my discussion. And until next time, bye.